In the small, bustling town of Ibadan, the sound of vendors selling their goods mixed with the chatter of neighbors sharing stories. Funke sat quietly on her family's porch, polishing her engagement ring with tender care. It sparkled under the warm afternoon sun, a sign of new beginnings. Her heart swelled with hope each time she looked at it. Her older sister Ada approached with a tray of steaming jollof rice. Ada's eyes landed on the ring, and for a moment her face was shadowed by something other than joy. She quickly masked it with a smile. "Funke, that ring is really beautiful," Ada said with forced cheerfulness, setting the tray down. Funke glanced up, pride swelling in her chest. "Thank you, sis. Adekunle really went out of his way. He's such a wonderful man." Ada nodded absently, but her fingers fidgeted with the edges of her apron. "I'm happy for you, really, but—" Funke looked at her sister curiously. "But what, Ada?" Ada hesitated, biting her lip. It's all happening so fast. Are you sure about this? I mean, have you thought about everything?" Funke frowned slightly, a knot of doubt forming in her stomach. "What do you mean, everything? Kunle loves me and I love him. What else is there?" Ada looked away, stirring the rice nervously. "Nothing, just— Never mind, let's eat." But as they ate, Funke's mind was unsettled. Ada's words lingered like a whisper of doubt she couldn't quite shake off. Later that evening, Funke found her parents in the sitting room, discussing their farm and family matters. Her father, Baba Funke, was a man of few words, while her mother, Mama Funke, loved sharing stories of her youth. "Mama Baba," Funke began, showing her ring again, "I wanted to make sure you're ready for the introduction ceremony next month." Mama Funke beamed, clapping her hands. "Ah, Funke, we are ready!" she exclaimed. Baba Funke nodded approvingly. "Adekunle seems like a good man, hard-working," he added. "Did Ada tell you anything about—" Funke started but stopped herself. It felt wrong to doubt without reason. Baba Funke shook his head. "Ada only said you're happy, and that's what matters." The next few days were filled with preparations. However, Funke couldn't shake off Ada's uncharacteristic response. Funke decided to visit Ada at her tiny shop in the market to talk. As she approached, she noticed Ada in deep conversation with a friend, but upon spotting Funke, Ada suddenly stopped talking and her expression tightened. "For heaven's sake, Ada, what are you not telling me?" Funke blurted out, more sharply than intended. Ada blinked, taken aback. She hesitated, then sighed heavily. "Okay, let's talk." They walked away from the busy aisle, finding a quiet corner between stalls selling second-hand clothes. Ada faced Funke, her voice low and serious. "I didn't want to say anything because I wasn't sure, but you need to know, Adekunle was once involved with someone who didn't end well." Ada's eyes were filled with concern. Funke's heart skipped a beat, confusion clouding her thoughts. "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Ada sighed. "There were rumors, something about money, lies, and a broken promise. I don't know the full story, but people talk." Funke felt the world tilt slightly, a mix of disbelief and fear creeping in. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "I wanted to protect you, but I didn't have proof. I thought it would pass. But Funke, if there's even a small chance it's true, you need to be careful," Ada replied, her eyes pleading. Funke's eyes were wet with unshed tears, but she wiped them quickly, standing taller. "I need to hear it from him." That evening, Funke met Adekunle at their favorite local cafe, where they often shared roasted corn and coconut. Adekunle was in high spirits, talking about plans for their future. But Funke's mind was elsewhere, her thoughts a whirlwind of doubt. With her heart pounding, she finally spoke. "Kunle, is there something you haven't told me?" Adekunle's smile faltered. "Of course not. What's wrong?" "Ada mentioned something about your past, money, and a broken promise." She watched him closely, searching his face for any hint of truth. Adekunle's eyes hardened, his tone defensive. "Funke, you know better than to listen to market gossip. People always talk. It's nothing." His dismissive tone left Funke feeling uneasy, but she wanted to believe him. "I just needed to be sure," she said quietly. "I understand," Adekunle said, softening his tone. He took her hands in his grip warm and reassuring. I love you. That's all that matters. They sat in silence, but Funke's mind kept circling back, like a bird looking for a safe branch to land on. Days went by, and Funke decided to confront the whispers. She discreetly asked about Adekunle from a friend known for gathering information faster than the wind. Her friend, Sade, raised an eyebrow at the request but obliged. The story is old, but yes, there was a woman, Sade confirmed, her voice cautious. Something valuable went missing. It's all shadow talk, nothing concrete. Funke's stomach twisted in anxiety. Her sister's words came back to haunt her. Determined to unravel the truth, Funke arranged to meet the woman everyone whispered about. They met at a quiet bench in an old park, sheltered by trees that had seen decades of secrets and dreams. The woman, Temi, was young, with an air of weariness. Adekunle and I were close once. He made promises. I trusted him, but things went wrong. She confessed quietly, pain reflecting in her eyes. What happened? Funke pressed gently. He wanted to build a business, said he needed money to start. A family heirloom disappeared. Temi's voice trembled with the memory. Funke's heart sank with every word. And then? Funke prompted, breath held. He vanished, Temi said simply. I never saw him again. When I heard he was engaging someone new, I wasn't surprised. People forget so quickly, don't they? Lost in thought, Funke thanked Temi and left, her heart heavy with disappointment. All her dreams felt like they were balancing on thin air, ready to fall at the slightest breeze. Returning home, Funke was greeted with the familiar warmth of family chatter. Mama Funke was already bustling with wedding plans, but Funke's enthusiasm had diminished. At dinner, she watched her family with mixed emotions. How could she tell them what she had learned? Would they even believe her? Her father noticed her silence. Funke, you're unusually quiet today. Everything all right? He asked, his voice carrying concern. Just tired, Baba. Long day? Funke replied, forcing a small smile. Her heart ached for simpler days when her biggest worry was an overcooked pot of rice. As she lay in bed that night, she knew the decision weighed heavily on her shoulders alone. Before closing her eyes, she sent a message to Adekunle. We need to talk. Please meet me at our cafe tomorrow. The cafe was empty except for the idle chatter of staff cleaning tables. Funke arrived early, sitting in their usual corner. Her heart thumped loudly with each passing minute until Adekunle finally walked in. The moment he sat down, Funke took a deep breath. Kunle, she started softly, I met someone from your past. Adekunle froze, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. Who? Temi, Funke answered, watching his reaction carefully. And she told me things that... Her voice faltered for a moment. Things I need to know are true or not. He looked at her, wearing an expression she couldn't quite read. Before he could say anything, she continued. I need to know if you're the man I believe you to be, or if I'm just another stop along your way. The weight of honesty hung between them like a storm waiting to break, and in that tense silence, Funke realized she was at a crossroads, one that could change everything. Adekunle leaned back, weighing his words. Funke, whatever she told you, it was a long time ago. I was young and stupid. I made mistakes, he admitted reluctantly, the tension in his voice palpable. Funke's eyes searched his, aching for certainty. And what stops you from making those mistakes again? He sighed deeply, rubbing his hands together. Because I met you, you made me want to be a better man. I'm not that person anymore. Her heart wavered between hope and fear, but the silence of the cafe demanded more clarity. Prove it, Funke said quietly, her voice echoing gently between their hearts. They sat in strained silence, the air heavy with unspoken pain. Adekunle finally spoke, his voice strained with sincerity. Funke, please. You are everything to me. I just want a chance to show that I've changed. She listened, the sincerity in his voice touching something deep within her. But trust was fragile, and words alone could not mend it. Let me take you to meet my pastor, Adekunle offered suddenly, surprising himself with the suggestion. I've been attending his services. He can attest to the changes in me. Funke hesitated, her instincts battling her vulnerability. For some reason, the idea of speaking to a pastor calmed her. A truth she hadn't considered began to stir within her. The next Sunday afternoon, Funke found herself outside a small church in Bodija, her hand nervously entwined with Adekunle's. The sun warmed her skin, grounding her hope in a reality she couldn't yet understand. Inside, Pastor Femi was finishing a service, his voice resonating with authority and gentle compassion. As the congregation began to disperse, Adekunle approached him. "Pastor," Adekunle began awkwardly, "this is Funke, my fiancé. I wanted her to meet you." The pastor nodded warmly, acknowledging Funke with a kind smile. "Ah, Adekunle has spoken of you often. Let's find a quiet place to talk." Pastor Femi led them to a small office lined with books and soft chairs. He studied them both with a gentle understanding that invited honesty. Funke took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "Pastor, there are things in Adekunle's past that scare me," she confessed, her voice small and uncertain. Pastor Femi nodded, allowing her fears to surface without judgment. "None of us are without sin, Funke. Christ calls us to truth and redemption." Adekunle shifted uncomfortably but nodded along, the pastor's words serving as both conviction and comfort. "What matters is the man Adekunle has chosen to be now," Pastor Femi continued, his voice calm yet firm. "Only if he truly allows Christ to transform him." The room was filled with a heavy silence as Adekunle finally spoke up. "I've been trying, Pastor, but I know words are not enough." Pastor Femi turned to Funke. "You have a decision, Funke, to hold on to fear or to seek peace through God's truth." Funke felt tears threaten to spill. It was as if the pastor had reached into her very soul, unearthing her silent prayers and her deepest fears. The pastor's sincerity struck something within Funke. Her mind flashed back to her mother's gentle voice, sharing Bible passages each night, passages that whispered of forgiveness, love, and the undeniable strength in Christ's grace. "As long as we walk in the light of God's word, we're on a path to healing," the pastor added. Funke nodded slowly, grateful for the moment of clarity. She squeezed Adekunle's hand, feeling the weight of it all, the truth, the hurt, and the hope of healing. After leaving the church, they sat in a small park nearby. Funke turned to Adekunle, her heart a tumultuous sea. "I'm willing to give us a chance," she said with newfound strength. "But we need to build trust anew, together and with Christ." Adekunle's eyes shimmered with relief, gratitude deep in his features. "I promise I'll earn it," he said, conviction lining his words. At home that night, Funke shared her heart with her family. Her sister Ada listened intently, compassion softening her features. "You are brave, Funke. Braver than I was when I first heard the rumors," Ada confessed, a hint of regret shadowing her tone. Their shared resolve, unspoken but resting gently between them, told them that this was just the beginning of a journey they would both undertake, as sisters and as friends. Days passed with Funke retracing her faith, cultivating moments of quiet reflection in her room, turning pages of a Bible she had once set aside. Her prayers were earnest, asking for light to guide her decisions, strength to forgive, and faith to trust in God's plan. Each prayer created space for God's peace to seep into the cracks where doubt had once lingered. One evening, during a family dinner, Funke received a surprise visit from Tammy. She watched hesitantly as Tammy stepped into their home, her presence a bridge between the past and the present. "I came here to say I'm sorry for everything," Tammy began, her voice laced with humility. Funke met her eyes, feeling the sincerity in Tammy's words. "I appreciate you coming," Funke said softly. "We both deserve a fresh start." Tammy nodded, her expression one of relief, as if shedding a burden carried for far too long. The weight of the past didn't vanish entirely, but in that moment they both felt the gentle warmth of forgiveness. As Tammy left, Funke's mother gently laid a hand on her shoulder. "My daughter, you have chosen a challenging path, but God walks with you," she encouraged, her voice filled with love and wisdom. With each day Funke allowed herself to embrace faith, she experienced the subtle grace of healing. Whispers of her mother's prayers echoed in her heart, weaving through her thoughts like a sacred anthem. The journey with Adekunle was not easy. Shadows lingered, but grounded in faith and fresh trust, they started to build anew, brick by precious brick. One afternoon, as she sat alone with her Bible, a verse from Isaiah caught her attention. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. Tears streamed down her face as she embraced the promise of those words, feeling Christ's peace settle deeply within her soul. As months unfolded, Funk noticed subtle changes in Adekunle. Little gestures, small acts of kindness, and honest communication began to solidify the love they once dreamed about. His commitment to pastor-led guidance showed growth, though it was slow and imperfect. Their wedding, simple and heartfelt, was a gathering enriched by redemption and newfound unity. A celebration where family and community witnessed love adorned with grace. In the quiet of an orange sunset, as newlyweds sat on that familiar porch, Funk spoke softly but with conviction. I thought revenge or running away would bring me peace. But I learned only Christ can truly heal. Adekunle clasped her hand gently, nodding in agreement. And in his forgiveness, I found the strength to change. With those words, the weight of the past eased, leaving space for a future strengthened by faith and love. As the stars emerged gently in the twilight sky, they held each other, savoring the gift of redemption in each shared breath. And in that sacred silence, forgiveness shone brighter than any dream reclaimed, leaving a testimony etched deeply into their hearts.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.